Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Ignatiuz Knowledge Series. This is our fifth session, which honestly feels like a small milestone. Every session we have done here, walked away with something to actually think about. Today, I think we're going to do just that because we have yet another very interesting topic to discuss. Today's session isn't really about AI, not fully. Think about it. AI writes for us now. It researches for us. It analyzes. It plans. It even helps us decide. And that's genuinely amazing. It has saved us hours of time. It has caught our blind spots. And it has made our average work look pretty good. But here's the question that comes to the mind. If AI is doing the thinking part of our jobs, what exactly are we left to get better at? Because let's be honest, nobody became a great professional or a great leader by having answers handed to them. We became good at our jobs by struggling with the problem, getting it wrong, figuring it out why, and doing it better the next time. That friction, that's not a bug. That's how growth works. So if AI removes the friction, does it quietly remove the growth too? Now, to walk us through all this, we have someone who lives at exactly this intersection of strategy, technology, and the human side of getting work done. It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today's session, Arihant Surana. Arihant is a project manager who works at the intersection of project management, business analysis, and AI-driven business transformation. He's got a strong interest in business strategy and consulting. He's genuinely passionate about helping organizations solve complex challenges through strategic thinking, data-driven decision making, and the smart use of emerging technologies. Beyond leading cross-functional initiatives in his day-to-day, Aryant is also an active voice in the AI community. Today, he's going to share his perspective on how AI is changing the way businesses and project teams like his own actually operate. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Aryan Surana. Over to you, Aryan.
Thank you, Urvashi. Thank you so much for such wonderful introduction. Even I could not have given such introduction about me. Thanks. Okay. So before I say anything else, I want to admit something. I use AI every day. I use it to help prepare parts of this talk. So I'm not here to tell you to stop it. I'm here because I've been noticing something and I think you have too. Have you noticed that the last email you sent, you didn't quite write it? That the summary you shared this morning, you didn't quite read it, that the analysis you reviewed, you glanced at and forwarded on. Did you do that? Just be honest with yourself. How much of your thinking in the last week has actually been yours? Nobody wakes up and decided to stop thinking. That's no dramatic moment. There's no line we cross. It's just one shortcut, then another, and then another. Until one day you go to do something you used to do easily, and the muscle isn't quite there anymore. Which brings me to what I actually want to talk about today. So, hello everyone, my name is Aryant, as shared by Urvashi. I run IT projects for living, and I have spent the last year quietly obsessed with this question. I have read the studies, I have watched it play out on my own teams, and I want to share what I have found so far. Let me start with a story that has nothing to do with AI. It's about London cab drivers. To drive a black cab in London, you have to memorize 25,000 of streets without GPS. It takes around 3 to 4 years. It's one of the hardest memory feats to win any ordinary job in the world demands. And in the year 2000, neuroscientists at University College of London decided to scan these drivers' brains. The part of the brain responsible for memory and navigation is the hippocampus, was measurably larger in these drivers, and it grew with years of experiences, which is fascinating actually. But that's not what I find and what I want you to remember. When the cabbies retired, when they stopped using that muscle, their brain shrank down a bit. It started actually to in shrinking down. And That is the sentence I want you to hold on to for the rest of this talk. Your brain isn't a hard drive you fill once. It's actually a muscle. It grows under load and it wastes out without it. MIT ran an experiment last year, 54 people, these groups, all writing essay. Those 54 people were actually grouped within three different kind of groups. One group used ChatGPT, one used search engine, and one used only their own brains. They measured brain activity with EEG throughout the experiment. The AI group's brain lit up at a very little bit, the weakest neural activity in all of these three groups. But there's nothing that this could have stopped this. And the finding from this was 83% of the ChatGPT users could not accurately code from an essay they had actually written a minutes earlier. In the brain only group, 11%. They only knew around 11% of the people knew what they actually wrote. They wrote it, their name was on it, but minutes later, nothing. The researchers called it as cognitive depth. That was one study. Here's another one. This one is actually very, I was curious about actually. Microsoft and Carnegie Mellon, 390 knowledge workers doing their real jobs, nearly 1,000 tasks. The finding is the whole game. The more you trust the AI, the less critical thinking you do. And the more you trust on your own skill, the more you challenge what the AI gives you. Your own expertise is the safeguard. The moment you outsource that confidence to the machine, you stop checking it. And you actually do. AI is built to sound sure. Every answer comes out smooth, coherent, and confident. And when something sounds confident, nothing in us wants to actually challenge it. Even at least I don't try to challenge that. It just feels right. Daniel Kahneman called this illusion as illusion of validity. We mistake fluency for correctness. AI is a fluency machine, and that's the whole trap actually. Harvard tested this directly, same AI model, same output, two different groups of people. The experts caught AI's mistake, the non-experts actually didn't. Expert Expertise is what makes AI safe to use. So if AI is doing all the work while the next generation is supposed to be building that expertise, where do tomorrow's experts come from? Hold that question. I want to bring this into our world now. Like I'm into software development and managing such projects. So in my world, into the work we actually do what every day. So as I'm a project manager, let me walk you through the delivery life cycles. We basically follow 7 stages in our everyday life, and I'll show you what AI quietly taking at each one. Stage one, the requirements. You get on the stakeholder call, you point AI at recording, and you get a beautiful summary, bullet points, action items, next phases, perfect. But any good BA or PM knows the most important thing in a stakeholder call is often the thing that wasn't said, the pause, when they thought about it, the hesitation on the third question, the topic somebody very carefully avoided, the way the sponsor looked at the CTO before answering. And that's called the tactic signal. It was 40 years of experience that took into a good requirement gathering books and stuff. AI captures the words, but it misses the meaning. Stage two, planning. This one changed how I think about all of this. Slow down with me here. What happens is we allocate hours to our team, like you have to do in this much of time, this much of effort should be spent on this particular task, and you just keep checking the tracker whether it has been done or not. But what actually lies behind is why the task was not actually completed in the first place for the first assignment. The AI flags it that the task has not been completed. The AI assigns the next task to that developer, but the AI cannot show empathy on why that particular task was not done. That the one-to-one connection with a project manager or the team lead can only do that. and the AI can never do that. So to have a great team bonding, one has to have a emotional one-to-one connect with their team instead of just AI doing the planning and stuff. Stage three, design. AI produces a beautiful architecture diagram, confident, coherent, explains itself in bullet points. The junior on your team accepts it, it works, and great, absolutely work perfectly and fine. But, and this is the quite cost. They never went through the struggle of designing in themselves, the trade-offs considered and rejectments, the failed attempts, the wait. Why won't this actually work? Moment at 11 p.m. Like this, everything you thought was right suddenly falls apart. That struggle is exactly where the reasoning muscle grows. It's how a junior becomes a senior. It's where deep understanding lives. And 6 months later, when the things break in production at 2 in the morning, nobody on the team knows what actually happened because they have never touched the code and they have never wrote it by themselves. Stage four, which is the most crucial ones, the build. Build, that is development. AI copilots now write 60, sometimes 70% of developers' code before they have typed a single line. The developer becomes an acceptor more than just an author. Like all the developers in the room can actually feel this line. Like they only hit accept, accept, accept to all the Cloud Code comments, but they actually never review it what and why they are asking for it. And most of the time it works. It compiles, it runs, it even passes the test cases. But ask that same developer 6 months later to explain that code line by line, to debug it, to modify it under pressure. There's a very good chance they have it, and there's a very, very good chance that they don't have it because the code was never literally theirs. So here's the thing about that, it's fine right up until the day the tool is wrong, or the day the tool is gone, or the day sometimes changes you need to understand what underneath. That's when the muscle matters, and that's exactly when we have stopped building it. The stage five in our projects would be review. Code reviews next. Increasingly, AI writes the code and a second AI reviews it, with a human technically positioned somewhere in that chain. But being in the loop is meaningless if that person generally can't catch a serious error or intervene fast error to the matter. That's not oversight functioning, it's appearance oversight, which is a different thing entirely. Stage six is deploy. When we have AI agents that will merge code, deploy to production, and roll back, sometimes with no human in between, fast when it works, catastrophic when it actually doesn't. In 2025 alone, there were multiple reported incidents of AI agents deleting entire production database in just a few seconds because no human could actually hit stop that fast. And that's what oversight in theater looks like when it hits reality. And finally, stage seven, the retro. AI can write it for you, 30 seconds, need bullet points, all done. But the retro was never about the document, it was about the conversation. It's the 1 hour every 2 weeks where a human turns raw experience into shared wisdom. When a junior asks, wait, why did we decide that? And a senior actually has to think. Automate that way, and the organization stops getting smart. At every single stage, AI promise is the same: less friction, faster, smoother, easier, and every one of them is a real promise. But friction was never just an obstacle. Friction was where the learning happened, where the junior became a senior, where the team built its judgment. But the friction was never just an obstacle. The question isn't where to use AI, it's how do we use it in a way that keeps the friction that matters and removes only the friction that doesn't. Let me show you what happens when the theater gets exposed. Last October, Deloitte, Australia, a $440,000 report, 237 pages delivered to the Australian government inside a fabricated citations. papers that didn't exist, and an invented quote attributed to a real federal court judgment. AI hallucinations, nobody at Deloitte caught them. Do you know who caught it? An academic on the outside who happened to read it. Deloitte had to issue a partial refund, and the point isn't don't use AI. The point is if your name is on it, you thought it through. The AI right, it is never a defense. Not your client, not your boss, not to yourself. Your name, your judgment, your call. And I want to tell you one more story before we get to the good news. June 2009, Rio and Paris, 228 people on board. Middle of the night, over the Atlantic, a small sensor iced over for less than a minute. The autopilot did what it was designed to do. It handed control back to the pilots. Irony, the plane was completely airworthy. If they would have done nothing, it would have kept flying. But the pilots had lost the basic feel for flying because they have been using the autopilots in their daily life in a good amount of time. Because for years, the automation has done it for them. They pulled the nose up, held it up, and flew a perfectly good airplane into the ocean. No survivors. That's not an AI story. That's from 1983, actually, and exactly where we are headed now. So, what do we do? Four small habits. I use them, my team uses them, and if you build them, you can use AI as much as you can and stay sharp. Habit one, think first and then prompt. Before you open the tool, from a rough answer of your own, even a bad one, even one sentence. The MIT study I mentioned earlier had one hopeful finding I saved for now. The group that thought first and used AI second kept their brains fully engaged and kept ownership of their work. Order matters. Use AI to sharpen a view you already have, not to manufacture one or you that you don't have. Habit two, do the hard reps on purpose. Pick a few tasks, the tricky email, the estimate, the strategy note, and do them without AI. Not because it's efficient, it won't be, but it's how the muscle stays alive. Pilots practice manual landings for a reason. Remember Air France 447 that we just discussed? This is exactly the discipline they didn't have. Habit three, interrogate fluency. Every time AI gives you a confident answer, treat it as hypothesis, not as a verdict. And ask one question every time. What would make this wrong? That single question will save your career at some point. I can promise you for that. And the fourth habit is own the output. If your name is on it, you thought it through. Remember Deloitte? $440,000, big four. And the defense they did not have was the AI wrote it. It's never a defense. Your name, your judgment, your call, and period. Full stop. Nothing else. And if you lead a team, one more thing. This is the one I want you to remember when you leave here. Lead people, not dashboards. Your dashboards will tell you throughput. It will not tell you that the someone on your team is quietly falling apart. That's still your job. Nothing has replaced it. Nothing is going to care. It's still ours. One last story, the chess tournament. After Deep Blue beat Kasparov in 1997, Kasparov didn't give up on humans. He asked a better question. What if humans and machine played together? In 2005, there was a freestyle tournament. Grandmasters entered with their supercomputers. The best chess engines entered on their own. The winners were two amateurs with three ordinary laptops. Kasparov's own word was weak human plus machine plus better processes. Yes, I would repeat better processes beat strong process humans plus machines plus inferior processes. That's the one talk in one sentence. The team that will thrive with AI over the next 10 years won't be the ones who adopted it fastest. They won't be the ones who resisted it longest. They'll be the ones who built the best processes for pairing human judgment with machine power. So I'll leave you with one question today. If AI can do it all, what's the one thing you will keep doing without it? Pick one task on your desk this week and that you will do without AI. Not because it's efficient, because it's how you stay you. Thank you.
Wow, that was a lot to take in, and mean it in the best way. Aryan, thank you. What I really appreciated about this session is that it didn't ask us to fear AI or worship it. It asks us to be intentional with it. And I think that's the distinction most of us are missing in our day to day. So we have a few questions from the attendees. So Mohit has asked, what about the junior developers? Should we stop them from using AI co-pilots altogether?
Mm, good question, Mohit. Actually, my answer would be no, absolutely not. Banning AI would be like telling a pilot trainee they can never use the autopilot. The point isn't to avoid the tool; it's to make sure they learn to fly without it, so they know what the tool is actually doing. In practice, that means let juniors use AI, but regularly give them tasks what they can't. And when they present work, always ask, how did you get there? Not just what the answer, the reasoning is the reps. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, so we have another question. This feels relevant for the knowledge workers, but does it apply to the other roles too?
Remember the Kevi story I shared? Those weren't knowledge workers, they were taxi drivers. And the principle was exactly the same. Use a skill and it grows. Stop using it and it shrinks. This applies to anyone whose jobs involves judgment, decision making, expertise built through practice, like surgeons, lawyers, teachers, designers, salespersons. If you value comes from what you know, you think this talk was for you. So yeah,
Okay. So, Aryan, thank you again for such a grounded yet practical session. And this is exactly the kind of conversation we started this series to have. And to everyone who has joined today, thank you for your time and energy, and keep your eyes out for the next series session. And until then, let's use AI to work smarter and let's not let it do a thinking for us. Thank you and have a great evening, everybody.
thank you.